like Miami.
Miami, 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 Miami.
It feel like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, we have our statistician and retired Photoshopper at this point, Christian Hernandez.
And I'm very happy in retirement. How are we doing?
We're doing great. It's a beautiful Monday morning. We have Brass, Jazz, and Chat. We have Moose on the show. What's up, Moose?
What's going on, people?
It's been a minute, dog. How you doing?
It's been a while. Good to be back. I'm trying to get these preseason reps in anticipation of the season. So I'm happy to be on with everyone.
Got lots to talk about. And if you're on twitch.tv/Miami Heat Beat, you might see a familiar face to my left. Miami Heat Beat alum, co-host of 5 on the Floor, Lefty Leif, Saucy Nuggets Insider. What is up, dog? How are you doing?
Heat beat lifer. I thought that's
lifer.
what you were gonna leave.
Oh, Heat beat lifer. No, I like that. No, Heat beat lifer, dude. No.
And Moose talking about getting reps.
Who gets that hashtag? It's you, Leif.
Moose talking about getting reps. Just come over to 5 on the Floor. We got a lot of reps. We got reps all summer. Reps. We haven't stopped going.
Just over and over.
Yeah, we're on some Jimmy Butler 4 a.m. stuff over there. Ethan's got us working.
Yeah,
I am happy to be on this program. It has been a weird ass summer, so who better to talk about this weird ass summer than y'all, my original OG crew on the podcast side of things. So I'm happy to be here for sure, yo.
And today is a special day. And chat, by the way, we appreciate you for stopping in. YouTube audience, we appreciate you for watching. And if you're listening on the pod or on YouTube, make sure to tune in on twitch.tv/Miami Heat Beat to join in on the fun live. Chat's always popping. Leif, today's a special day because UD announced yesterday at his camp that he was coming back, which, you know, the fact that he made it an event made me feel like it was going to be like, you know, something important. And, you know, I can't think of anybody I would have wanted to talk to more today, considering how not fun the timeline was yesterday. It was very strange. It was like, we'll talk about that divide later, but I want to talk about UD coming back. He announced he's returning for one final season. Basement, the boardroom. I'm Freudian slip there. The board. Wow. The boardroom.
It's okay. It's preseason. Preseason for everybody.
The boardroom.
You need reps.
I need reps.
Keep going.
The boardroom on Kevin Durant's platform. We'll play that audio for you later. UD said he's returning for one final. He said, Leif, how does that make you feel as Heat lifer, dog? As you were going to the Miami Arena watching Cycly and Glenn Rice, like you've been, nobody
old, bro.
Yeah, well,
nobody rides. Yeah, you're old,
No,
dog.
you're off to a killer start.
You got
G.
the song
I'm
for
saying
old.
you don't gotta wind up with the patronizing. G, it's me, dude.
I know,
It's
dude.
Leif.
It's for the audience.
No,
dog.
I'm messing
It's
with you. I'm totally
pageantry.
joking.
It's pageantry.
I'm joking. I'm happy he's back, but truthfully, it's not really that big of a deal. Like from a basketball perspective, I had heard earlier in the week that he was leaning in the other direction. That he was actually kind of. I thought he was going to retire, frankly, based on the information I got. As y'all could tell, all the information I get is not 100% accurate, as I've always led with the chin and said. And I was happy he's going to be back. 20 seasons is what he talked about with his dad. I feel that is a cool way to go out. He should go out on his terms. Ethan did a great job of kind of chronologically going through all the things UD has done for the organization on 5 on the Floor. Shameless plug. And then, you know, so for me, it's cool as hell. I'm happy he's back. It's Udonis Haslem. He's one of my favorite players ever. All that good stuff. He's actually also been one of the coolest dudes in the locker room to ever speak to. Like of everyone that I've gone up to and engaged with, he's always willing to take a question. So super humble in that way. But like, yo, we still got a hole in the front court, and who's the fit next to Bam? So I got other questions that we could get to later, because like, truthfully, this is only going to pacify us for so long. So I'm happy he's back. Great. Like, He can help control the locker room and all that good stuff. We know what he means. All the people around the organization want him there. So who are we to question it? But I got questions about the other places in the front court.
We have a lot to talk about. Moose, Leif brought up a great point. Udonis' late father, that was a promise that they made. Udonis' father recently passed. And
yes.
I think that's an aspect of this. Tim Reynolds reported that. And I think that's an aspect of this that a lot of people aren't talking about, like just kind of that
aspect of it.
And
listen, I'm coming in super excited because, first of all, I'm shocked that Leif thought that he was actually going to retire. I thought there was no way he was going to invite a bunch of kids to his camps, make them run a shit ton of shuttles, and be like, all right, I'm calling it quits. Listen, I'm the keeper of the culture, but I'm tired. Like, he deserves his rest. But we all knew that 20 was a big number for him. Like, I didn't know that it was a promise to his dad, but he's been mentioning year 20 for a number of years now as his ultimate goal. Keep in mind, the list of players that have made it to 20 years in the NBA, let alone with a single team, it's a handful of guys. That's a
three
special. Yeah, that's incredibly rare and special and something to be celebrated. He is the keeper of the culture. No disrespect to Zoe and Wade and any of the other guys who all contributed. But the guy that laid the bricks in the foundation of it is Udonis Haslem. He helped build the house. He's allowed to live in it until the day he decides he's ready to get up and leave. And if that's after year 20, I salute him and I thank him for everything. I'm going to love giving him his flowers this last year.
So
as a fan, I'm all for it.
So 20, I believe the list is Dirk, Kobe, and Tim Duncan, correct? No.
20 seasons, I think it's only Dirk, Kobe, and UD. I don't think Tim Duncan
did
made
Timmy
it.
not make it?
I thought it was Timmy.
Timmy might not have made it. I've seen the graphic of the three, but it's Kobe. Yeah, it is. It's Kobe, Dirk, and now Udonis Haslem.
There you go.
That's special. Before we get to Christian, so we have the audio of UD on the boardroom, Kevin Durant's platform. I'm sure we're gonna get into the implications of that in a second, but we got some audio to play here, so let's check out what UD had to say.
Being considered the originator of heat culture just means that I'm the bearer of it. I carry it. I mean, that means a lot to me because that can't just be passed on to anybody. You know what I'm saying? There is a culture here, and we ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I think when people look at the culture of the Miami Heat and they understand, how hard it is to be here and how disciplined you have to be. You look at our roster of guys and you see 7, 8 undrafted guys. You see guys that had to get out of the mud. And they look at, obviously, the superstars. There's a shitload of talent in this fucking league. You can't deny that. But that's not what's going to get you to the championship. It's going to be the other guys. The other guys are just as important. I think people don't understand that. So, I think we value those other guys here. You know what I'm saying? You come in here, you put the work in, and you'll get a fair shot. You know what I'm saying? And once you get a fair shot, you fall in line and you get in the rotation and everybody eat here.
I like the
culture.
The boardroom production. Little sound effects.
I also love that he basically dressed culture as a very not subtle way of saying this isn't a place where a star's going to come and do whatever the fuck they want.
Precisely.
Which not all stars want that,
Some stars have left because of that. Very famously LeBron, and
But stars will also respect it because he's in the locker room enforcing that.
I
Not
think
everybody can set that standard and make other guys fall in line. That's what makes UD different.
Christian, what's your take on the whole thing? Because I know that maybe you're not as aligned with us, but I know that at heart you're a fan, and you've been a season ticket holder for a long time. So where do you stand? I actually don't know.
What do you mean by not aligned?
Like with us, like we're like
about how me and Nikias have been basically trashing this general idea.
Nikias is fucking dead to me. Let me tell you something.
But it's Nikias who gets all the fame for it, but I've been trashing it just. I don't know. People just
really have, yeah.
Which is pretty great. But honestly, at this point though, now, and especially since it's been such a repeated topic at this point. We do this every year now, and to the point where now the organization, to the point that now even Spo is coming out and kind of elaborating on what it really means to have him as a player and not necessarily a coach, because we always knew that you could just retire and then you'd be a coach. You're not going anywhere. You're literally still on the bench. Not a lot changes, but apparently there is a fundamental difference to being one of the 15, being there for practice every day, being involved, checking you when you're trying to drive to the rim, like being a presence, beyond just being, a mouthpiece. And that's not saying coaches are just mouthpieces, but the way that they impact is verbally usually. Sure, they'll get in there and they get into practice sessions and stuff like that, I'm sure, but it's really more them reinforcing a strategy or a set of, skills. So I'm starting to see more now why they value it. And at the same time, I don't know how you can question it from the outside when the Heat do have such a unique culture. I mean, I get that at this point it's almost like a marketing slogan, but it's real. And it's something that every player that goes there talks about. And that's something that can't be overlooked. And Udonis is the torch carrier. I like how Alex said that he literally built, I guess the FTX, now I still call it the AAA. The AAA was built in 1998. So unless he was literally there building it before he went to college. I think he was. I believe it.
He might have been.
I think he was in UF already. So it's I don't know if he physically built it, but spiritually, he built the shit out of that place.
Leif, we talk about the barriers, and actually we talked about this, when you were on our show, and in particular about Justice and Dwayne, and how we looked at Justice as this culture bridge. Right, because Dwayne was on the way out, and we looked at it Justice is gonna be the guy who's gonna carry the torch, and Justice even talked about that, and obviously that never happened, and then now we have Jimmy Butler and Udonis is still here, and it's now I think a lot of that falls on Bam, and Bam has recently said, I want to be here for the rest of my career. A lot of guys say that, but I do think he means it. I do think this organization is for him. I think it's not insignificant that when they were in the cap space game for Giannis. And Bam said, I want my extension now because all my other peers are getting their extension. And I think after their fuck up with Dwayne back when, they signed any papers they had to, and they made their guy happy. And they said, fuck the flexibility. We got to keep these guys in-house. So kind of, Spo values it. Spo has said, a guy in a suit, once you put on the suit, it's different than when you're in uniform. And I think Leif, I think Christian said it best, but we can't question that from the outside. And then that kind of the tradition of culture is really kind of now falling on Bam from UD to Bam.
It is. And I think that's super cool to see Bam become the next dude to take that on, because he's kind of got, let's just be honest. He's got a level of talent that Udonis Haslem just does not possess. So Bam Adebayo, I think, can transcend levels of the culture that UD can't necessarily from just a pure productivity perspective and impact perspective. So I think it's cool that he can kind of be the guy that comes up through the mud, improving himself and all that good stuff like UD was just talking about. But also he's got the stripes of a lottery pick. And so he's kind of like a hybrid a little bit. But I like that he wants to take on the challenge and all that. To me, though, let's be honest, because Christian hit on this thing about him being a coach. And I think that it is a valid question to ask from a roster construction standpoint. If you have a player that you literally know that you will not put in under any circumstance in any high leverage situation, because there were opportunities to do so in this last playoff run and they didn't ever use him. So he's not on the table, essentially, is what that data tells us, right? When you're short on assets in the front court, or you're short on players in the front court, can you really afford to do that? So to me, it's not as much questioning them about keeping UD as the 15th man. It's about what the hell are y'all going to do up around the 4th or the 5th or the 6th man to figure this out and make it work, or just prove me wrong and shut me up as the season starts. And maybe Jimmy at the 4 is the new thing and I'm just late to the party. But that's where so Christian, I feel you, man. I understand where you're coming from. To me, I trust them to figure it out, but it's incumbent on them to figure some shit out.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's become a point of conversation every season now for the last probably half decade. So it's just interesting. Now we've definitely heard a lot of different perspectives on the topic, especially within the organization, or maybe guys that were in the organization. And there's a lot of viewpoints that to lend to something that we just can't grasp tangibly, and that makes it a harder conversation to have.
I think it's kind of a tired conversation because when they had bodies that didn't work, they didn't go to their bench. I mean, Duncan couldn't even see the floor. You know what I mean? Like, so we're talking about 15th men. Like, who are they going to find when they wouldn't put the guy that they gave a ton of money to? So, like, for me, I'm like, I understand that. Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue that logistically for the Encore product it's better to keep Udonis. I don't think that, but I think that the argument is just institutionally it matters. And I think for an organization that, and I think this part's not talked about enough, they had a bad reputation. They had self-stained with LeBron leaving, Bosch's health crisis that was not played out very nicely publicly, and Dwayne leaving, and then them overcompensating and signing a bunch of, for lack of a better word, kind of loons to, 4-year contracts, and they were stuck, and it was bad, and they, Zach Lowe called them the bleakest situation in the NBA, and they had a problem where they looked cutthroat, and they did not give Dwayne the Kobe contract. Everybody made fun of the Lakers for giving them the Kobe contract. People go to the Lakers because they take care of their stars, and I think there was a shift in the organization and how they viewed things, and I don't think that Dwayne leaving they would probably keep doing this dance with Udonis, but I think they understand that when they talk about family and culture, they never put their money where their mouth was when rubber hit the road, and I do think that they just decided, okay, well, we gotta practice what we preach. We gotta take care of our guys. And I'm sure that, Udonis in the bubble was a very vocal person that people listen to. You know what I mean? Like, that's a figure that whether you guys make fun of it, I'm sure a lot of his peers are like, that guy's 40 fucking years old and he's out here working really hard, and they fucking respect that. What you got, Moose?
I don't want to cut you
off. No, that was
it. I'm so glad you said that, because it's not only the Miami Heat players that listen when Udonis speaks. It's the entire league, okay? I think people outside, and I'm talking about fans now, I think fans outside of Miami don't understand exactly the reputation that Udonis has within the NBA amongst all players. I think that it's not going to be like a massive celebration retirement tour where he's going to get gifts and everything like Wade was, but he is going to get his flowers from the players on the court in every single stop. And I think there's something to that, and I think the Miami Heat understands that. And to your point, Gianni, yes, they've come a long way in making up their reputation. They're not going to fuck it up now at the very end with the guy that is the poster for your culture. Like, I think it makes way too much sense for everybody for him to come back and finish strong.
Listen, we got the moment of Udonis wagging the finger at Dwight. Worth it. Just worth it.
I was going to say, Leif, you made a comment earlier that there's no real game situation where you can play Udonis, and that's not true, because if you need a flagrant, that motherfucker's coming off the bench real quick, all right?
And we're getting a shit ton of those.
That's true.
Do you remember when he played Dwight Howard in an NBA game like not that long ago?
We can't underrate also the fact that Jimmy might have beat the shit out of Eric Spoelstra right there on the bench.
That's the other thing.
Like, that's added value, because Spoelstra is a valuable asset.
I think
the 15th man on the floor is not going to be able to keep Spo alive. Udonis is the only one with that power.
That 15th man has to make a choice. Do they go against the superstar or the coach? I think both are bad answers. Imagine you're, last guy on the bench. I don't know, Smart or whoever. Poor guy making these tough decisions. They didn't even play Mario Chalmers. They signed Mario Chalmers and didn't even play him.
That was a whole.
They don't play 15th men.
Yeah.
Leif, whatever happened? Do you know what happened with that? Did he know that he wasn't going to play?
That was all PR.
No, well, I don't know about that. I think that it was really bad timing. There was some like schedule stuff that got weird, but that was what I heard, and that was a long time.
That might have been like one of the happiest days in like the last 3 seasons as a Heat fan. We did an emergency podcast and we were basically throwing confetti for an hour. It was so fun.
Speaking of fun and confetti and doing emergency podcasts, you just mentioned that era where the Heat just like kind of stumbled through a 5-year stretch. Miami Heat we made it through all of those years.
Those are our best years.
Content. So like, respect it.
Justice Better is an institution. You may not like it, but it was a fucking institution. It was polarizing.
The best thing we ever did because of how angry it made everyone. That's how I.
You either loved it or you hated it.
You know,
it was nobody was ambivalent.
It's got the drip drop effect. I know all what you're talking about, baby. Gotta hit him one time.
I can't wait for us to do the hotties.
Love and hate; those are the two emotions you want to elicit.
I can't wait for us to do the hotties and Nikias to win best drip drop. Media mogul Nikias.
Don't even get started.
Yo.
Best drip drop category.
Shout out to Cal AU in the chat for the Prime sub. If you don't know, if you are watching on Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, you have a free subscription. It means no commercials, and you give us money courtesy of Jeff Bezos. So link is in chat, gaming.amazon.com. Click link and log in with your Amazon account, and it gives us money, and you don't have to pay a thing. You get one of those every month, so appreciate you guys. Chad is also saying Brass's kid is going to win best drip drop. You are absolutely correct. Skinny McGee in chat says
it's a favorite, betting favorite.
Skinny McGee, shout out to Slim. Asked in chat. Eric Reed asked me what it meant. Just as better. He did not react positively, but he did use it in game. He did. That might have been one of the greatest Heat Beat moments ever. That and Mechanic.
Okay.
Listen.
I was going to say Mechanic is up there.
It's
The
Mechanic by a
has
mile
exceeded
because
it.
of how much the Heat are using that now.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Leif,
Yes.
I was at the arena for the Oladipo game. The first game Oladipo was back. I was with a friend, and I had met up with Alex at halftime. Alex Toledo of Five on the Floor, and we were talking in the concourse, and we were kind of talking through the third quarter, and then we're like, all right, let's go back. And so the third had just started. I think Deadman had started the half. And then Deadman scored, and I could not believe it because behind him was a giant screen, and they just flashed Mechanic imagery. And I go, this is not happening. What the fuck is going on? Ira interviewed me about it, and Ira's like, I've never seen the team just take on a third-party nickname like this. And and Ira's right. The Heat don't do that.
Exactly.
They're straight-laced.
Yo, they still ain't really like doing the no ceiling thing. So you're right. Like
they don't do it.
Very rare.
But
right,
Deadman loves it. Deadman, we sent him a bunch of shirts and like bibs, and he wears them and posts them on Instagram. Yeah, the jersey. Shout out to Casey.
He came on the Hottie Awards. Like he fully embraced it.
He was excited. He's like, "What award did I win?" I mean, listen, Deadman is important for content here, but it's just crazy that they just ran with the name. It's just a funny moment.
Great tradable contract too.
Oh, no, for us, I mean, that's always the most important signing. I mean, Leif, commissioning emotes is expensive. If you're in chat, flash the Deadman emotes. It's not cheap to have an artist draw that. If he leaves, we can't keep him. You know what I mean? It's expensive. It's an investment. All right, so Leif had mentioned at the top of the show, Udonis is a power forward, right? And we talked, well, who's Bam's perfect front court partner, who has been saying what for years. And that's a question that we've had a lot on the show, and I think we've exhausted a lot of the conversation. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of things. It's going to be some Caleb, some Jimmy. But something that we haven't talked too much on this podcast is because I'm pretty against it. Is kind of two bigs playing together. I'm pretty out on it. And shout out to Dr. Dolphin for the Prime sub. Christian and I have been going back and forth in our group chat about this, right, Chris?
I mean, not just us. Alf, too. He's super annoying.
Alf is with me. You have Siobhan. I have Alf. And we are at war. And I don't think that that's going to work. I don't think that Bam and Yurt specifically is going to work. And Christian believes otherwise. So Christian and I, we're announcing this on the podcast. So we'll do like fucking weekly check-ins and shit. Christian and I have a $1,000 bet.
Whoa.
That if
$1,000.
The bet is if
Look
Bam and Yurt are positive net rating on the year by the end of the season, I win. If they're negative, I win. And if they're positive, Chris wins. A minimum 100 minutes, which we're going to get into how possible is that or not. And for a while, I said, a couple weeks ago, Chris, I said, because you were just fucking, I haven't been online very much. You were just kind of ripping off about Bam and Yurt. And I go, Chris, you don't believe this. I go, I'll bet you $1,000 that they're not going to be positive. And Chris goes, no way, I'm not going to do that. And I go, exactly. Then I come back a week later, I go, you didn't want to fucking bet $1,000. You're still running your mouth.
Yeah, for your sake.
Yeah, and then Chris is like, for your sake. And then, so this is, Chris, this is our deal. We're making this official. I'm virtually shaking your hand on air. Chat says I can buy a new HDMI cable with it. So, do you want to? I want to get into why you think it's gonna work. Let's hear it. Why do you think that Bam and Yurt is a possibility?
I mean, what the fuck are the Heat gonna do with the 4 right now?
I mean, that's a good ass point.
Boom.
I mean, okay, sure. Like I initially, when they first re-signed Caleb, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, you could play Caleb. I genuinely think that could work. I don't think it's going to work as good as PJ. I don't think he's as strong, which is kind of what you're going to need to have in that position. Like, yeah, he's a really good defender and he's a tenacious defender. But
not enough acreage.
But what happens in bigger matchups where he's, having to check a guy like Al Horford or something like that, or having to deal with him on the boards or something like that, I don't know how tenable that is. So then, you start thinking a little bit more outside the box. I mean, we've all been watching all the clips of Bam this summer. He's very clearly focused on a couple of things, which is one of the things that we saw a lot of towards the end of the playoffs last year, which is having the ball in his damn hands. So if he's got the ball in his hands, it really doesn't matter if he's playing with another big as hell. You could have him come over and set a screen, which is a gnarly pick and roll to deal with. And theoretically, in that kind of situation, the Heat are most likely going to have 3 other people that are shooting on the perimeter, which is going to give them some space. And then Yurt is a massive roll option. And, I mean, Gianni, for the love of God, you are the one ringing the bells about how skinny Kyle is going to dominate the league next season. Kyle's one of the best lob throwers in the league, and Yurt is literally just fingers by the rim constantly.
Very soft hands, too.
It's easy buckets, and Yurt was showing better touch as the season went on. And the thing that I cannot stress enough, because I care more about defense than offense always. And Yurt, despite, there were many times last season that he visibly looked a step slow, behind, maybe a little confused about what he was supposed to be doing. But despite all of those hiccups and roadblocks, he was still a net positive defender in almost every fucking scenario. Every fucking scenario. Just because of his size. Just because of his ability to impact the rim and rebound. His rebounding is insane. You're going to be a top-tier rebounding league and be a solid defensive team. You can have a whack offense, which is very likely, and you're still going to be a fucking problem.
You're going to lose so much money, G.
I'm not. Leif, you're laughing.
You're laughing. So me, dog.
They have it's offensively. I think on defense,
it definitely could be a problem, and it very likely will be a problem in the beginning. But I think, especially, I really truly believe one of those two, either Bam or Yurt, they're going to have them make it a point to space a little bit next season, and then let's see how it looks.
I mean, they have to.
Let's see how it looks.
What are you gonna say, Leif?
I was gonna say one. I think that y'all mentioned the qualifier, right? That went quickly, so I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard it either.
I just want to just clarify for me. Does Pat Riley report to Eric Spoelstra, or does Eric Spoelstra report to Pat Riley?
I think Spo does whatever he wants.
I know where you're going with this.
I think Spo does. I think Pat makes suggestions and Spo does what Spo wants. Now, whether agents make phone calls to the front office and say, "Hey, my guy's not playing enough," that becomes different. But I think Spo does what Spo.
You answered it too long. The short answer is Pat's gonna say, play those two dudes together for 101 minutes at least. Do you understand me?
We're gonna send him this.
No, but for real, no. Not the 101 thing, but truthfully, I think that they're going to explore it. I don't think that that's far-fetched. I think Yurt can shoot better than people give him credit for. He has not got the opportunity. He's been told not to shoot, and I think that he'll get the chance to maybe do that a little bit more. I could almost see him taking a long-distance 3 maybe before Bam does next season. That's another interesting little bet. But I think that they're going to give it a shot. I don't know that it's going to work defensively. I don't know that it's going to work late in the playoffs. But I just keep coming back to this. When they had PJ Tucker, I still felt like it was a small team. Like they needed to get bigger this offseason with PJ Tucker. Well, now PJ Tucker is gone and they did not add anyone of significance with size. So to me, like at some point, they're going to have to look that in the face, that they're just not big enough.
Moose, what you got?
I think something that's not being brought up enough, and first of all, I agree with every point that you guys have made. I think the opportunity is going to be there for him to be as impactful as he can be in the second year. But the second year, that's what I think is not being mentioned enough. Spo has way more confidence when he's with a guy for a second year, seeing them all summer long, okay? That second year jump when you're in the Heat culture, it's significant. We saw it with Strus. We saw it with Tyler. I think we're going to see it now with Omer. I think him having the opportunity and also being with this system for a whole year and a summer, spending it with UD. We know he's been spending a lot of time with UD this offseason. I really think we're going to see a different player, not a more complete player, but just a more comfortable player on the floor. And I think that's going to make a world of a difference. And again, all of the opportunity is there for him to play alongside Bam. It should work. And I think this team needs to at least give it a reasonable chance to work.
He's a 66% free throw shooter. So, like, I don't expect him to make, like, a huge shooting leap, like, from next season to now. Like, I'm sure that, like, it'll come. Like, probably he'll work on it, but I don't expect that next season. I'm not worried about it on defense because I think defensively it's I think it's kind of simplified. You just play really high up on pick and roll with he's going to get put in actions, and you just kind of him in the guard or him in the wing kind of push up, and you have Bam kind of scramble behind the defense with Jimmy. Probably keep Jimmy at the nail, and then they'll have Bam kind of scramble and help, and then that'll be good. I mean, they'll probably force a turnovers. I'm sure that they'll trap. They'll do a lot of creative things on defense. I'm not so worried about on defense because you can simplify it for Yurt if you're going to play him with Bam, because you could just have Bam and Jimmy scramble behind him. Now, my issue is on offense, and it kind of makes me wonder how often they can even play him with Jimmy, which kind of makes the defensive viability a little more difficult because now probably you have to compensate with more shooting. So now Max and Duncan might be playing, or Tyler or whatever. But, if you play Jimmy, Yurt, and Bam together, those are three non-shooters, right? And I just don't think that Bam's going to walk into the league. Even if he starts taking them and makes them at a decent rate, I just don't think he's going to be guarded. I think teams are going to let him take them, and it's just ultimately a net negative for your offense. And I think if you're a team like Miami who they don't have, like, Jimmy can do it, but, like, Jimmy can't do it for 82, right? Like, Jimmy cannot hub an offense as, like, this Dwayne Wade level scorer. I think he could do it for 16, and you bring in Jimmy to win you 16 games. But for 82, and that's an ask at his age as well, same with Kyle, same with everything. So you got to make the offense as easy as possible because you have so many plus and smart defenders that you can kind of work that around. So my thing is more on offense, and I don't think they should be making their life harder on offense. I think going smaller, and it's not a great answer because, Leif is right. Like, at times they were small. I don't really think that ever was the issue with them. I think it was their shooting and their offense. Their defense was never an issue because, again, the Boston series really changed when they decided to drop. They said, okay, well, you're not hitting your shots, so we're just going to drop Horford on all your pick and rolls, and Rob Williams is not going to guard PJ in the corner or on the wing anymore. So he's just going to come, Horford's sinking, Rob is coming in as well. So now when you're Bam rolling, you roll into two big dudes, and Max and Tyler and Duncan can't hit anything. And it's just Jimmy or bust at that point. So you can't make your offense more difficult. And I guess that's kind of, Chris, that's where I am. I just don't trust it offensively.
But you see, Gianni, I think part of the thing, and maybe I think we're starting to lose sight of some of the, like, older principles in basketball. Like, there's so much focus on continuing to run this offense that the Heat have kind of been manufacturing because they don't really have, like, a premier playmaker. I mean, I would say that Kyle is actually a premier playmaker. Yeah. So they do have one now. But, like, for a while, they really didn't, They
don't have a guy that can get north and south.
But, Johnny, if they have size, they can actually try to exploit mismatches, which is something they have not been able to do in a long time because they have always been the undersized team. So it's like...
But mismatches where?
I mean, specifically in the post area.
With Yurt?
Yurt showed a willingness to pass out of the post,
it's just 1997, baby!
Like, exactly, in and out game.
if you
Kyle can entry pass.
Facing a small team, dude, and Yurt can make some and Kyle makes some entry passes to Yurt. He's getting a few easy layups, and all of a sudden they got to start sending a body to get the ball out of his hands. Things change a lot quickly. They just haven't had anybody.
The help's easy, Chris.
And beyond that, playing with a bigger player gives Bam an opportunity sometimes to hunt mismatches. in a way that
he's bad at it though. He's bad at it. He's bad at.
But that's one of the things that I would hope if he's got the ball in his hands more, he'll grow with. That's something he needs practice on because he hasn't really done it.
I just don't think that they're in like the business of like we gotta practice this. Like they kind of gotta know. You know what I mean? So
that's why they have to make a trade. Like let's just cut.
I mean we are. That's where this ends. You know what I mean?
I'd rather for Gianni's sake, they just trade you.
But that's actually what I wanted to ask. I know that you had mentioned there was a qualifier there, that he has to be on the team past January.
Yeah, because
that's where I struggle. Because if I'm a betting man, I don't see him on this team past.
No,
January.
it's just like obviously if he's traded before the end of January. It's just
I don't think the team that we see at the start of the regular season is the team that we're going to see at the start of the new year.
Does anybody want him?
I fully expect a trade for KD, and I'm going to tell you why. There was a reason that Udonis Haslem chose. Let me ask you something. His best friend Dwayne, he has a media empire, right? LeBron James, another media empire. But Udonis Haslem went to the boardroom with his decision. Why was that?
I like the shop. I personally like the shop.
I'm running with it.
Maybe he's been token up with his boy KD, talking about the situation, being like, listen, until we know what's going on with you, I can't get my money. Now that we know that we got to wait till December, I'm signing this deal. I'll give you this exclusive interview, and I'll see you in January. Omer will probably be shipped to Brooklyn.
What if it was just like
I just don't see KD
thing.
staying with the Nets all year long, but I do see him staying to start the season. I really do.
Shout out to Ryan Spravero for subbing with Prime. I think we had another sub with Prime. Oh yeah, Dolphin. Dude, are we sure that this isn't? Because I'm personally I like the shop more than the boardroom. I don't know I don't know where y'all are on that. Yo, LeBron fake laughs on the shop so much. It's fucking hilarious. That man.
I've watched the shop more than boardroom, but I probably need to catch up on the other one.
I didn't know about the boardroom until they announced Udonis Haslem's
I knew
return.
about it because
I'm gonna be honest. Me too.
I knew about it
trying to
because
be more modest than that.
I've only ever seen clips, but it seems like one of the trends that people have been talking about from LeBron kind of being more open about speaking freely, like in a media, in a type setting where people are going to see it, is that he seems to lie just like for sport for some time.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
He's seen every movie, read every book.
The Malcolm X biography.
He's on the first page.
Chris, you've seen the Malcolm X video, right? Where he's being asked about the Malcolm X biography that he's holding.
Oh, it's cringe.
Yeah. Cannot answer. Cannot answer
so
a
many
single
great parts.
question.
I can't really name a certain one.
No, I've seen it though. I've seen it. It's great.
Nah, but if he getting Jay-Z in a barber chair, I'm watching it. So that's just my that's the threshold for me.
That's why it's just ridiculous that LeBron left. He belongs in Miami. Miami's a city filled with people that love to embellish.
We love it.
He belongs here.
LeBron belongs here too. What Fix says in chat says LeBron predicted the Kobe 81 game. Have you guys seen that clip?
Yeah.
Oh, that
I've seen that clip.
Leif, LeBron's like, I was watching and I was like, man, he going for 60 today.
No.
And then he's like, and then when he got to 50, I was like, man, he's going for 80.
Yep.
I was like, oh.
Word.
I love that guy. He and Skip Bayless are kin.
I like that he curses more on that show. It's little stuff like that I find cool these days because there was so long where all your favorite basketball players had to be like so careful with what they said. And like the first time I heard a Heat player curse in a press conference, because I know how they operate, they probably all were like, Jimmy gonna say what the hell Jimmy wants to say.
Beasley would too.
To know who it was.
Truthfully, I think. No, Shaq might have snuck one in, but it was very playful. Jimmy was the first one to like openly just F-bomb press.
Well, Jimmy was just like letting it fly.
I know the Heat weren't really happy when players would drop F-bombs because in the locker room you're not allowed to take pictures, but you are allowed to take video. So like if you take video and like someone drops an F-bomb, like they're not. I understand like they want to protect the image of their players, but I know that they're not particularly fond of players doing that around live cameras.
Yeah.
Which is funny because,
I
like,
don't know,
but
man.
it, I get it.
The demographic that leads basketball, I would think that kind of stuff would actually make them more popular. But what do I know? Like,
They're very straight laced, Chris. They're straight laced.
They've loosened up. Like we talk about all the culture stuff.
They have Locked On Heat and Media Row. Of course, they've loosened up. They have David Ramil. They have podcasts.
Dog, why
I love David. I love David.
In the middle of the show. I was just DMing with
He's gonna
David.
sneak up
I
right
love
behind
David.
you.
David's
He's
my
gonna
guy.
be he's gonna be right behind you.
I went to. I go to their watch parties. No, David's my guy. No, it was just like
for real though.
The fact that they have
Kyle,
podcasts.
They have no, and I know where you're going. I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to.
Go.
Jimmy and Kyle have been given the most relaxed version of this is the Heat culture rule book than any players that have ever came to Miami, including all of the big three.
But they're adults too. It's different. Like LeBron came here as like, a young man who kind of was his own boss. And I think Kyle and Jimmy, I don't think you ever have to question, is Jimmy doing enough to win or is Jimmy going to not? And Kyle's the adult in the room. And even their young guys, like, Duncan and I mean, maybe Tyler, I would be a little concerned about, but like, Duncan and Max and, even Yurt, guys like that are like, and Bam's like the most professional, so like, I don't think they have to worry about their guys.
But to be fair to those guys though, I mean, completely different scenarios. You can't even compare the media scrutiny and all that, like the big three era Heat teams under compared to this Jimmy Butler team.
They can't even get a fucking Nationals game. Nobody cares.
Saying, it's covered completely differently. So like, you can't compare. It's not apples to apples in that sense.
Leif Cartiliana in chat makes a point. Birdman ? I think Birdman has cursed.
That's a good one.
Birdman's a wild card, man.
What about Eddie House?
I'm sure guys have cursed. What I mean to say is like a guy
openly
repeating,
right,
and knowing like he's where been told, hey, we really would appreciate it if you didn't do that, and then he goes up there the next night and says the same shit again. Like that's what I mean specifically.
Chris says Eddie House, and I have two Eddie House memories. One is the big ball celebration in Oklahoma City. The other is Reefer Alston slapping him upside the head. And one of my favorite clips of basketball ever. Reefer Alston just hitting the shit out of him. What Fix says in chat says Max and Jimmy flipping the bird in games. That's true. Jimmy doing the sex motions, although he did get fined for that. Jimmy's hilarious.
Worth it.
Jimmy might be
the
like
funniest player in Heat history.
I was gonna say like he's hilarious. UD's really funny too.
Yeah,
UD is really funny.
We underrated him when we were doing these rankings, but that's where we are in the offseason.
Damn, that's a good one. I wish we thought of that. Damn it. J Rich was really funny too. I love Josh. Where's Josh playing? Is he a Celtic? No. Is he a Mav? No, he's not a Mav anymore. I don't even know where Josh is.
He was with the Celtics. Like
this is who he played for. He's gonna be on who he played for.
Extension with the Celtics. I don't know if they traded him.
Shout out to Josh, man. So yeah, I mean that's kind of their reality with their 4 and 5 situation, and they're just gonna have to make a trade. And like if I'm pretty confident that they go into the season being like, not perfect, we'll fix it at some point. Like I think that they're confident that at some point they're going to be able to fix it. I mean, I think they have at least 2 tradable picks. Am I correct?
That sounds right.
I believe that they have 2 tradable picks, and I think they can free up another one if Sam Presti wants to play ball. No, they already freed that one up. They freed that one up last trade deadline.
This is where I'm at. You guys are going to be surprised by this, and I haven't really even said this publicly and not on 5 on the floor yet. I'm kind of worried about this team. I'm going to be honest.
Really?
Yes. I think that they are a team that if they start the season and they're not playing well, it's not good. It's just not. It's not going to be a situation. This is just my opinion, and y'all can clip this and then play it later. It's all good. Like I just feel like they're not the type of team that's going to come like this entire offseason. Half the roster has been in trade rumors. They're going to come back, and if they struggle, losing PJ, not getting anybody, getting as far as they did, I just have a feeling eventually that like they just, I don't know,
rabble.
I don't get a good vibe. That's just my intuitive feeling. Say that I'm fucking wrong when the time comes. That's all good. But so hopefully they start out good. I just don't like the idea of like a 10-12 type of start.
I actually kind of think that they're gonna be good early on because of the continuity and because out of playing, I think Jimmy at the 4 is like, I mean, listen, their most successful playoff minutes were Jimmy at the 4, right? Like I think that is their best lineup. Whether you should do that for 82 is a conversation.
I don't know if you could do that for 82.
That's the thing. So I'm concerned in the long term of like these dudes breaking down, but I'm actually like pretty like fine like with their start because like they're gonna come out firing. And I think, and Leif, maybe you can speak more of this. I don't know if they feel, maybe this is just a fan narrative, but like you get the sense of like they're a little disrespected at the lack of national attention. I'm sure that these dudes don't want to play on Christmas or anything, but just I mean, like the fact that the Sixers, who they beat and thoroughly actually like straight up embarrassed on television, get like twice as many national games as them when they're like, they added our leftovers and now all of a sudden like they're the fucking talk of the town. I mean, get over it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's just like, why does Tyler not have his extension? If we like our team, if we love this group, why is he not extended?
Because the cap situation is difficult.
KD.
Why would you not? And I understand trust me, I'm asking.
No, I know you're asking, but
answer these questions. But like, here's the other one. Like, they have an obvious hole in the front court. You can't like stop it. Like the cool thing about the Heat being so good for so long is we have smart fans now, and they know that you don't have the right piece in the front court.
They don't have a 4. Like, they don't. It doesn't exist.
They don't have one. Correct. So like
he just came back.
Word up.
He's a 5.
So like all I'm saying is G may be right, and if they weather that early storm, get off to a good start, build a cushion, can afford a losing streak here or there until they can strike and get that front court help. Awesome. I've seen it happen a million times. I'm not panicking. I'm just saying that I don't think this is going to be the type of group that rebounds from that type of start based off of what's taken place this offseason. That's just how I feel.
I'm just
these guys feel like they were getting traded. Like don't.
I don't totally disagree. Yeah, I don't totally disagree with you, Leif. I think there's a lot of guys coming into this season, Tyler being one of them, not really sure where they stand with the Miami Heat moving forward, and that's going to play a role at the start of the season. But again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I just fully expect a trade at some point. So, like, yeah, they might start off slow, but the reason I'm not freaking out yet is because I know that's not going to be the team that we're going to have post-trade deadline. Once I know what the actual team is, I'll have a better, understanding of, where we're going. But right now it feels like an incomplete team because it is until we make that inevitable trade.
But the other thing was like, Leif, what the fuck was there out there other than keeping PJ, which I don't, maybe you can answer this more than I do. I think the PJ thing was a clear, like, well, this is our salary cap line in the sand. And he's like, correct, crosses it, and it's like, well, we tried. Like that was, that's it. We're not gonna, And so then at that point, like once he's gone, you kind of look around and you're like, well, what is there? Like I had people in my mentions telling me like, oh, T.J. Warren. I was like, the dude Jimmy wanted to kill,
dog. Like
what?
P.J. Tucker and Jalen Brunson are the only 2 impact free agents that changed teams. I mean, are we going to count the Otto Porters and be like, they could have got Otto Porter to be the starting 4? Like, stop it.
And Otto went for money.
That's not going to win shit.
Otto went for money that they didn't have.
TJ Warren, like this is garbage. This is fodder. This is not like when you're this close to a championship, it is highly risky to not plug that spot. And that's like kind of what doesn't sit well to me about this offseason is that they're so close, dog. Like they were one shot away, but like I know that everyone will say one shot away bullshit. But
Leif,
like,
they were
really
one shot away when everything went wrong for them.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. So like to me, like to not go all in on that at some point and to show it by cashing in whatever assets you have to have the best roster possible. I just have never seen the Heat not operate like that. So to Moose's point, I'm just kind of waiting for the trade, hoping for the trade.
I think if Bam plays at a level that we think he's a reasonable level, which he's capable of, and if Kyle has a better season than he did last season, particularly shooting the ball, and if Kyle plays how we did the second half of the regular season, and if Bam takes a step that we think he can take, I think Jimmy is Jimmy. And I think that's just enough to get you a 3 or 4 seed, just based off that talent. And you're just gonna grit your way. You're gonna have a Max Strus game here and there. They're gonna find their way to a home seed if those other two things go their way. And then it just becomes like, okay, well, what's available? How many picks can we free up? And how much salary can we put together? And, I did think it was funny that Tyler's like, yeah, we wanted to run it back. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you didn't want to go live in Utah.
For real.
Yo, like on that Miami Pro-Am stuff, did y'all see when they were saying "Let's go Heat" when Donovan Mitchell's at the free throw line and Bam
Did you see
Adebayo is
Bam?
in the second box and he's like,
Louder.
like
Way to go, everyone.
yeah, like
Well done.
y'all can't see me, but my arms are going louder, like on some hey ho, like Naughty
Bernie
by
out
Nature
here.
shit. Like, yeah, so for real, like Bam knows it. Tyler knows it. Like, do you think Jimmy and Kevin Durant haven't had any conversations this entire summer? Like, so that's why, like, there's a part of this that feels very much like cut the shit. Like, just what, and so, but the caveat is if there's not a deal to be made, they got to have this team back. So it's just that entire dynamic. I feel like you have the potential for some nasty shit to wash up on shore. That's all.
Leif, real quick.
That's how I feel.
Two more things and we'll get out of here. If they get Harrison Barnes for Duncan and stuff, does that make them?
Championship?
I love
That's
Harrison.
the title.
Dog, we the parade, does it go all the way down Biscayne to Steve's or no?
Oh no, all the way to Steve's
Oh,
Pizza, baby.
It's
All the way to
We're
Steve's
gonna make
Pizza.
sure it does.
All the way to Steve's Pizza. I can't say Zarina anymore because everyone got mad at me after they lost that one game, but I still want to float. I think that's the best, and I know that everyone's gonna make fun of me, and the already chat's like telling me let it go. I just don't really know who's more perfect, and his contract expires when Jimmy's. I'm actually okay if overpay. I think if they overpay for Barnes, I actually think it's okay because I think that they're so close. Like a guy, I don't know who's better theoretically than that.
But when you say overpay, are you saying like throw in?
Oh, it's like the draft equity that you'd have to give up. I think would be that's really what.
Can y'all believe I told Christian he was crazy that I didn't want to trade Tyler Hero for Tyrese Halliburton straight up? Can y'all believe that's
Did you say that?
hill I was on at one time? Yes. Christian probably don't remember it. But
Sounds like a rational take to me. One time.
I mean, look, the one thing I will say, though, especially about a trade like that one, like the Harrison Barnes one, I think the Heat, you guys made points kind of going both ways in terms of how this team's going to start next season. Continuity is a really good point for starting well, but the other side of it, I feel like a lot of what made the Heat good last season is they had a lot of guys that really weren't on scouting reports. And that's going to change. Remember when Duncan really, really popped, when people weren't really looking out for him, and look what the league did to him once he got that contract. So the one thing I will say is that there is a logic to possibly looking at guys like Strus and Gabe and stuff like that and considering to trade them for a piece that can help them win a title, because it's hard to imagine that they're going to take another leap forward next season. If they play the same, that would be amazing. And the Heat should be super happy if that happens. But it's just, I feel like things are going to get tougher for them too.
I think Gabe's the guy that I would look for to improve the most because I think he has a legitimate downhill game. I don't think he has the first step or the zip to get separation, but I think that you can see the finishing. He's
better than Van Vliet.
Honestly, yeah. I'm not. We know that I love Freddie, but
ooh, that must have hurt,
dog.
That had to hurt.
It's true. And it's funny because Fred's like a strong guy, but that man can't finish, and they're that's something that we know how good Toronto is, but that's going to be ultimately their ceiling and their limiter. If their main pick and roll downhill threat can't finish, and Gabe can do it, right? And Gabe can shoot, and Gabe can do a lot. Gabe's a little small, but plays up defensively, so. That's going to be – I think he's a guy that I think will play better. But a lot of questions to be answered in this next NBA season. We're coming up on it. It's coming. This will be 10 years for Miami Heat beat too, so give it up for that. I've talked about it a lot, man. 10 years strong. This will be our 10th season, Brian and I covering it. And as you see, people like Leif and a bunch of great people that come through here, and also people like Moose, who we'd rather not. I'm kidding. But –
I'll be on all throughout the season too.
Oh yeah, no, we're up this partnership, baby. We'll be there. They'll be here. Hangover times. We gotta get baby. Ethan on.
We're gonna milk that one.
I gotta find a good bit to do with Ethan. Speaking of bits to do, there's something I want to incorporate onto Miami Heat Beats, and it's something I'm springing on everybody right now. I listen to a podcast called Radio Melee. If anybody knows, I love Super Smash Bros. Melee as an esport. I play competitively. I love it. It's one of the most decorated and most interesting esports around. It's really, really cool. You should check it out if you like the game. But Radio Melee is probably the best podcast going for that. And they do something called the community voice at the end of every episode, where every episode they have a guest on, and they ask the guest to ask the community a question. And then the next guest that comes on gets to answer that question and then ask their own question. So I kind of wanted to do something like that. And I know that it's unfair. And Leif, you can start thinking about something you might want to ask Heat fans. And then everybody can write in the YouTube comments and we'll read them on air next game. And then we'll ask the next guest. And we kind of, I wanted to incorporate something like that because I really do like that. And it does give a nice thread between the episodes. And shout out to Toph and PPMD because they do a great job with that. But it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I just said, fuck it. We're having Leif on today. I kind of was 50-50 on if I wanted to do it, so I kind of want to do – we got to think of a name, so if you guys can think of a cool name to give this community voice, hit us up in the comments, tweet us at MIHeatBeat. Leif, what would you want to ask the audience and then the next guest that comes on? Like something that an interesting question that you want people to think about.
If you had to attach, basically pick a hip hop song to represent Udonis Haslem in totality.
I love that.
If you had to pick one, which one would it be?
I love that. All right, so you guys heard it. If you put that in the comments on YouTube, tweet at us and we'll read them on air next episode, and we'll ask our next guest because we're going to be much guest heavier on Miami Heat Beat this season. What fixes? I main Fox. I used to main Roy, but I changed because I wanted to win games. I was a Roy main for like 7 years. I gave up to the meta. Fox is sick though. Catch me at the local on Thursday at Seba, 8 p.m. by Bird Road and 87th. I'll see y'all there. I'll be out there playing my first tournament in a long time. But Leif, my brother, I love you. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you got the plug over? What are you guys doing over there this week over there at 5 Reasons?
We will have 595 episodes before 4 o'clock tomorrow. No, I'm joking.
You're competing with the Deuces. The Deuces, listen.
They put out content too.
Machine.
I mean, and they don't even pay the producer. It's totally weird.
I've heard horror stories about that, Leif, about what they do to the. I mean, it's straight up embezzlement.
But no, 5 on the floor, obviously, check it out. We're going to be doing some new stuff this year, obviously, with Miami Heat Beat, but also some new faces that everybody hasn't seen for post-game. I'm going to be hosting a lot of the post-game shows for the home game specifically because Ethan and the crew will be there covering the game. Locker rooms will be open. So, obviously, Ethan is like, peace out because I'm going to get intel. I think Brady Hawk is going to become one of the most favorite players of Miami Heat fans. I'm just throwing that out there. But I'll be hosting a lot of the post-game shows on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel for the home game. So check me out there. Y'all know where to find me, man. What the hell am I plugging stuff?
You know where
I'm not the plug. I'm not straight. No.
You know where to find the saucy nuggets. Stay tuned right here. Subscribe on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen to the pod. Rate and review. I think not enough. We've been going on for a long time, and you guys do not review us on iTunes enough. Just hit the little star button. I'm not going to tell you to do 5 stars. Whatever you feel is adequate. It helps us. Show us a love. We love you guys. Answer the community voice. We will see you guys hopefully next week. I don't know. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. We love y'all. Peace.